Right.
Sorry, Todd, didn't mean to wake you up.
All right.
I call to order this regular meeting of the Navasota Planning and Zoning Commission for July 13th, 2023. If you haven't already silenced your cell phones, please do so at this time. And if you are able, please rise for the pledge and the invocation. And we have no reverend here tonight, Doc.
Oh, I'd defer to Dia.
What?
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Heavenly Father, let us open this meeting in prayer so that we may do your will as you ask us to do and make the best decisions that we can for today and for the future of the community of Navasota. And God, please deliver us a little bit from this heat. Give us some rain. And, in your name we pray. Thank you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Dia, I think we're going to take a vote and vote on you as chaplain of the...
See, I knew she could do it.
I know the only visitor in the audience tonight, so we're going to dispense with remark of visitors because I know she's here to talk about an agenda item. And that'll bring us to agenda item number 4, consideration and possible action on a replat application submitted by Hi-Ho Holdings LLC for the property located at 1921 Highway 105 East Navasota, Grimes County, Texas 77868. The properties affected are legally described as A0055-5 D. Tyler, Tract 5, Parcel 36, acres .811, A0055-5 D. Tyler, Tract 36-1, acres 3.189, and S3150- CSP Motors Edition, Block 1, Lot 2B, Acres 1, Replat 313772. It's all yours, Mr. Lupe.
Mr. Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commission, to briefly summarize, as you described, it is a replat that is being considered tonight. Just I guess a heads up, the property owner is out of town. The person that was assigned to be the project rep emailed me this afternoon. He's actually the surveyor, Mr. Wisnowski. He had something come up with family, so he's not going to be able to be here. He did give me his cell phone. In case there's any questions, we can get him on the horn. Anyway,
I was
so
going to ask where the representative was. That was
Yeah.
going to be my first question.
yeah, so he did let me know this afternoon that he is available by cell phone. And so to summarize the proposed property, there's two parcels that are in tract and parcel form. You need to back it, Randy.
I left half of it in my car.
Oh, no worries. So two of the tracts are in tract and parcel form. One of them is actually a platted lot. That was the original CSP Motors that we platted close to a year ago or so. So the proposed replat just cleans up a lot of those lines and creates a unique lot for Hi-Ho Truck Stop, and then a separate lot for future development. I know that we've sent a lot of prospects over to Mr. Meridia over the years, and so I think he's just really trying to clearly define what is available for sale, and hopefully something good happens on that property. The plat was reviewed by staff and our engineer, and everything is applicable or meets all applicable codes and regulations.
I have a general question. When people go and replat these things, why don't they get rid of that 6 feet that goes into the easement on the north side of that and make it a square lot? Why do that?
I think it's
Just
because
out of the ease of it?
Because it follows the pipeline.
But it actually puts Hi-Ho has a
God.
piece of property in the easement instead of following the line and being a
Oh, I
straight
could-
line.
yeah.
If it was my property, I'd have given up that 8 square feet. You know what I mean? But anyway, I digress. It's one of those things that I look at and I just say, why can't we have a straight line?
Because it goes back to the sovereignty of when it was first started. I mean, from a real
Yeah,
estate
no, I
standpoint.
know from a real estate standpoint, but the fact is they have to deal with a piece of easement in their property
Yeah.
that they could have gotten away with, done away with, and never had to deal with Exxon gas and just make them go away. But, yeah.
It's been that long ago since we replatted that?
Yeah, it's when, the new dealership, before the new dealership was developed,
Wow.
Vivaldi split up a few of those.
Because
So,
I remember we were commenting on that weird shaped replat.
Yeah, it definitely does a lot of cleanup, from 3 to 2, so.
Oh, I see why they do that, Todd. They have a parking lot poured.
Oh, they already have concrete in that little,
Yes.
yeah.
That's why they did that.
Yeah, okay, all right, you're right, I see it in the
That's-
aerial,
that's- that's
in the
my-
aerial
that's my
photograph.
concrete,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, it's this little piece right here. When you look at that,
Yeah, there's a little jog in there, yep.
Yep, okay,
That's expensive concrete.
yeah. Yeah, you get a whole tire on that piece of,
It helps the trucks with the turning radius.
Somewhat.
So at this point, there's no plan for it, or?
Yeah, just wants to market it and hopefully get something in there.
Hopefully let HEB buy it.
Next to the HEB.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, that corner is very popular right now.
I bet that's right. Gosh, I hate to make a motion so early. We should be here, to earn our pay.
Well, we've got a workshop coming up that may take longer than expected.
Okay.
Could you clarify for the print? So they're gonna go from 3 to 2,
Yes.
so go ahead and print out everything, but these 2 right here would become 1?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's split down the middle.
close.
And then the lot that Hi-Ho currently is gets absorbed into that half.
Well, it's not quite down the middle.
Right. Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the request for the plat,
Replat.
replat, sorry.
Have a motion from Dr. Walla to approve the replat.
I second it.
A second from Commissioner Hancock. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, the motion carries. And that brings us to agenda item number 5, workshop for discussing let me get the proper wording of it here. Workshop discussion related to cluster mailbox requirements within Chapter 10 subdivision regulations. And I instigated this on behalf of my wife, who is here tonight to discuss her times with our trash receptacle at our cluster mailbox across from our city manager's house.
Lupe, could you pull up that regulation?
Yeah.
Is it you that's doing?
This is pretty gross.
I think that was your Chick-fil-A bag in that picture.
Julie didn't find anything with, his name on it when she hauled the trash to our house, I can tell you that.
Did you itemize every item, Randy?
Spreadsheet.
That's though.
Yeah, I see all it says is that it must have an approved trash receptacle is what I see.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay, that's it, approved.
What does approved trash receptacle mean?
I mean,
It looks like a trash can, it's a trash can.
has a lid.
Ugly
you know.
blue,
Mm-hmm.
It's Navasota blue, not ugly blue.
it's ugly.
And I must confess, when this was originally discussed, I had a lot to do to instigate the trash cans at the mailbox. And I think when Dove Court came back to us, their HOA, and discussed removing the trash cans, I didn't realize what a problem it could be until we were faced with cleaning up a blue polycart worth of trash that had blown all over. I'll let Julie get up and talk about, she took some pictures and they're in our packet. This was the day, about 5 hours after the trash truck came through and emptied the polycart, or the photos you're looking at.
Yeah, so Julie Peters, 2410 Mulligan Lane, Navasota 77868. I've watched enough of these to know. So I understand the thought behind it is that people were probably leaving their junk mail on somewhere and it was probably blowing around and you thought, oh, well, let's just put a trash can there and they can just put it there. Yeah, that was a good idea in theory, but there was one time I came and the wind had, which that has nothing to do with anything. The wind blew it. It was scattered all across that lot, and I picked it up, put it back in there. One Thursday, whoever puts it out every Wednesday to the curb to be picked up and puts it back over to that spot. I don't know who does it, but thank you. I appreciate that. I would be willing to be in a rotation for that. But one day I went to work, and it's right in the bend of sand trap, yeah. And it was out to be dumped. I went to work. I came back like probably 5 hours later, and it looked like that. And I thought, okay, did it not get dumped today? Did they not pick it up? Like, what happened? And I noticed the boxes. And I'm like, okay, somebody didn't take their boxes. So I posted it on the page and was like, okay, did they not pick it up? And somebody said, yes, they did pick it up. So it had been emptied that day. But within 5 hours, it looked like that. So I went back and I took the boxes out thinking that's probably all that was in there. And upon doing that, I found that, oh, somebody has cleaned their car out and there appears to be somebody's kitchen, home trash in there. I don't know that that's a problem at the one in the middle of the subdivision because there's houses everywhere facing it. But this particular one, there's no, you can't really see it. Like, it's fencing here, and an empty lot. So, you know, it could have been somebody coming from the county road, or I don't know whose it is. It may not be anybody in our neighborhood. So it's just, I don't know, it's iffy. And I also saw it as kind of a safety issue, and even though I know Ethan knows this, we are way more than likely to get our identity stolen from the free Wi-Fi at McDonald's than we are, or swiping our card at the gas pump. That is still a valid thing that's happening, and it's actually on the rise again. People are going through people's trash and getting their information and stealing your identity, fraud, theft, applying for credit cards. I personally am in the habit, I guess I'm old school like that, of when I go home, I just take my trash home and I rip up stuff before I throw it in the trash. But that could be, you know, an issue too, because that is a public area. People can go through it. And like I said, the stuff that I saw in there with the people's boxes, they just rip the stuff out of the box and just dump the box in there. And all of the bags of air and packing materials in it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of dangerous because you left all your information on there. So, I don't know. I just think maybe, probably not a good idea.
So are you asking that there be, what's the alternative you're asking for?
I'm just saying, I mean, if we didn't have trash cans there, what did we do before?
Yeah.
We just took it home. Yeah. I mean,
But you made a good point, which is people might just leave the junk mail that they don't want on top.
yeah.
And then what
it
you
may
have
blow
is it,
up.
instead of it being in a can that you have to deal with, not you,
Yeah.
the royal you,
Yeah.
then you're dealing with picking it up against the fence
Yeah.
in whoever's yard and stuff, yeah.
But people at that point, that was Thursday evening, so it was going to be 7 days before that trash is going to get emptied again.
Well, it looks to me like either somebody in the neighborhood forgot to get theirs out on the street on time, so then they
That's
just,
what I'm-
then they
yeah.
just use that one. Or
Yeah.
like you say, people are emptying cars.
Yeah.
I have seen garbage cans that have slots in them so that you can't put anything but mail in them.
That would be
the
an
lids
alternative.
and the lids are locked with a padlock and
Uh-huh.
a cord so that you can't dump them. But then somebody has to be responsible for dumping
doing
it.
that.
But that keeps the cardboard out.
Mhm.
It keeps anything that you can't shove through a hole this big out, which is most fast food stuff, but not all of it. But now you've got to take the effort.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's an
And I don't know
alternative to at least have a can
who's
there.
responsible for paying for public services for that.
HOA.
The HOAs pay for that? Okay.
And you've got somebody volunteering to take care of it, maybe.
Yeah, there is somebody, I don't know who does it, but somebody does make sure it gets to the curb and puts it back.
What did they do at Dove Crossing? Or what do they do?
We weren't in the HOA, and
Okay.
we didn't have cluster mailboxes. so-
Oh, okay.
And this letter from Mr. Redding is dated, June 2022. So is it still an issue out at Dove Landing? Do we know?
Have you heard anything back from him?
No, I mean, once I communicated to him that there really wasn't a lot of traction to change the ordinance or give them an exception, I didn't hear back. But I just had that in there as reference since this
Oh,
is the
okay.
second time that this has
That
come
this
up.
has come up, okay.
And I have talked to people in Dove Crossing that said they do not see a trash can over there anymore. So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, where's, enforcement of whether or not there's a can at a
You know.
cluster mailbox is probably not on the top of the list of
I was
enforcement.
going to say. I mean, but for them, that would be an HOA issue.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah, they might have just said,
yeah, they
who
might
cares
have.
what the city
No
said, and let me
more,
take it off.
right.
I haven't
Until
seen
the
it.
city comes knocking.
Call
we're
the
not-
police.
Now, I know that
No
a lot
trash
of people, the original Dove Court, that one was put in place before the ordinance was approved. So Dove Court doesn't have one, but Dove Landing should.
Okay, so maybe that's
Um,
the one they see that doesn't
That
have
doesn't
one.
have one,
Yeah.
yeah. But, I mean, I know it is uncommon. I mean, I guess I'm sure that you guys as planning commission, anytime you're in a subdivision, now you're always on the lookout for things, because you know that this is what we deal with. And it's pretty uncommon to see trash cans. I mean, I do see the point and the thought behind it. I know that Heritage Meadows has a mix of cluster mailboxes and home mailboxes at the driveway. And I mean, to my knowledge, I don't recall any complaints about litter near the clusters, but I mean, I guess it could happen potentially.
Ethan and I were talking before the meeting, and he had a really good idea, like, why don't we do a test plot? 90 days, take the garbage can away,
And see what happens.
see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
and then make a decision from that.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
and I
idea.
guess the other thing
It's
too
bad,
is,
and go to a slot.
yeah, and even HOA and community outreach, like, hey, we're all neighbors here, what's going on? You
Yeah.
know? I mean, I don't know how active the HOA is in doing things like that. I've never lived with an HOA.
Well, our
I don't know.
HOA is still under the jurisdiction
It's under
of the
the
developer.
developers.
Yeah, sure, which means they have little effort, right?
I mean, it is Texas, and nobody likes the HOA telling you what to do,
Yeah.
you know?
Randy, do you remember what the feedback was on the post? I think most people were actually kind of leaning more on the side of we don't need it.
Pretty
Yeah, there
much,
were a lot of people that,
Julie follows the post, and she's the expert on there, so.
Yeah.
This is the weekly
You're the
thing?
garbage expert, Julie? Is it-
yeah, apparently I am.
It's not like,
I'm a,
No, it's weekly.
twice a month it's like this, it's every week.
It's,
well, yeah,
It's
I mean,
for
I'm not,
every
I don't know that it overflows like that every time. But,
There-
and like I said, it's not, at the other one that's in the middle of the subdivision. But like I said, there's lots of houses that face it, that are around it, that see it, that have eyes on it.
Right, so nobody can pull the car up
Somebody
and pull
can
2
do
bags
that
out
kind
of
of
the
stuff.
trunk and throw it
Yeah.
in when it's in front of the
And
houses.
everybody out there has a Ring doorbell. So nobody's getting away with anything out there. But,
Also, so you'll know, the biggest difference between this location and the other location in the subdivision, the other location actually has a drive-through, and it's within a couple of feet from the drive-through. So when the trash truck comes in, there's not far you have to go for that. There is nowhere for a vehicle or the trash truck to pull over to be able to get that. There's been so many near accidents.
Oh,
and
yes.
One's gonna happen at some point until a drive is cut back there into that public space to create a drive for you to pull into to be able to get to your
Yeah,
mailbox.
because they're required to have 2 parking spaces, right?
There are 2 parking spaces barely.
But
There is no
but not a
two parking
drive-through
spaces.
loop.
Minimum of 2 vehicle off-the-street access is required.
Yeah, and that they do not have that. That does not meet the requirements.
So what do we do about that? Well, not
So,
us.
so we are working, I think Lupe, we're working with
Yeah, Mr. Hassel on that.
the developer, when they are constructing the county road, they're supposed to come back in and cut something in here, so.
yeah, because you're right, that is a very dangerous spot. And I don't think people realize they can pull up on that raised area and they just park right there. And then people are coming around this way and it's kind of a blind spot. And yeah, there've been many near misses there.
And we also have the issues with the US Post Service not actually shutting and closing all the
Box.
boxes too.
So how were they able to build this without the 2 parking spots before they built it?
Lupe?
Well, I think that's up for interpretation. You have 2 compact cars. Two cars can get completely off of the roadway and not be touching the roadway. Actually, I've seen a pickup truck the other day that was there, and a vehicle could have been behind. So, I think some of these things is up for interpretation, similar to, is this an approved trash receptacle? I think the polycart probably works better than some of the other ones, because that's easily
Sure.
taken to the street, picked up and cleaned, versus those fancier ones that you have to physically lock it, get the bag, take it with you.
And Republic isn't gonna pick anything up that isn't in a polycart, because they're not gonna get out of the truck to lift up a galvanized can.
No.
So,
Right,
so
right.
you have no choice. If you're gonna have a can there, to have the approved can then becomes approved by the collector and not approved by the city. You know,
Right,
if
right.
an individual isn't taking care of it, that's.
Is there a place that you could move the trash can so it's not right by that?
Not really, no. Well, it has to be, in the ordinance, it says it needs to be in a covered area, it needs to be, and we did have to move it to where because that's a very open area, and it's really windy. They should have named that Windy Estates out there, because it's flat land and it's always windy. So the day that it got knocked over and blew it everywhere, it was like, okay, we have to move it somewhere that it can't get caught up in the wind, so. And I mean, I would be fine with working that out as far as the lock thing, if you had a bag inside of there that you could just wrap up and put in my trash can or whoever's trash can if we want to rotate or whatever. But I think a slotted thing is a reasonable thing. Like you said, it's kind of hard to deal with.
You can't put the cardboard boxes in it, and they take up a lot of space.
No.
You'd have to pop all those airbags.
No.
You can't really pour a bunch of packaging peanuts
No.
through the slot, without them going everywhere. So, I mean, I've seen that in other locations.
But I think Dr. Wallows, try for 90 days without it and see what happens.
That's not my idea.
Or Ethan.
We were just talking.
I mean, or go to a slotted with a lock, and whoever takes it out to the curb unlocks it, right? Because I don't think Republic's gonna unlock.
No.
So they don't
No.
want to get out of the truck.
And they'll do a dumpster, but I don't think they're gonna unlock the polycart. Or do that for 90 days, or I don't know what stages. I mean, if the consensus of the residents is get rid of it, then try that for 90 days first. And then if that doesn't work, then move to a
Yeah,
slot.
if we see that the unused mail is being
Yeah.
kind of flown around everywhere.
Or if people are just dumping garbage because it's a spot where they can pull over and dump garbage. I mean, I
Garbage,
pick garbage up in front of my house. I mean, Dairy Queen bags and giant Slurpee cups and stuff like that all the time.
I only have I only have beer disposal at my house, in my yard. People don't eat Dairy Queen in front of my house. They just throw their beer bottles out there.
Wow.
Get the beer bottles
They
too.
must know that I don't
We
have
found
a
some
camera.
of them in the
They must know I
polycart,
don't have a
too.
Ring
What's that?
doorbell.
Beer bottles.
Beer bottles.
Yeah, and somebody had the idea of maybe putting a game camera there and maybe catching whoever's doing that. Well, I mean, then you get into.
It's not illegal, though.
I was
Is
gonna
it,
say,
Jason?
technically, well, illegal dumping in a public, what on that,
What are you gonna do to them?
How you gonna,
what are you gonna do? Don't do that no more? Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to put trash in a trash can.
yeah.
Yeah, don't put trash in a trash
You
can.
take it out and put it back in their lawn, like you.
Can
But then you're littering on it.
can you roll your window down, please?
Radar area.
Well,
Yeah, that's
that's
the
the
other
thing,
thing.
we don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know that, I don't
There's
think,
a good chance they're not residents.
I don't think it
Yeah,
is, because
contractors out there
that
too.
one is visible.
I use the other cluster
To
mailbox area that they're talking about.
the
that's
county
around here.
road and
I've
to
never once put
105
trash in the
people.
trash can.
You know,
So-
that's visible.
I just take it
Yeah, I
home.
was thinking the other area that Mr. Hassel built, you know, that had the,
Oh, the Sunset Park.
yeah,
The
Sunset
the
Park,
manufactured
doesn't
home
they
park.
have?
Yeah, they have
They have
cluster
cluster.
mailbox areas, and they don't have, that was
I don't
before.
think it's even covered though.
Well, that was before the rules, but they
Before
don't
the
have any trash receptacles, and I mean,
Okay.
I've driven through there. It's always fairly.
Yeah.
fairly clean. I haven't seen any
I
litter.
don't remember any problems with
But
it.
you feel like this is a common enough occurrence that it's a problem. This wasn't just a one-off where you go out there and you're like, oh, we
Yeah,
totally have
I've seen lots of boxes in there before, and I'm just like, okay, you're taking up a lot of room there.
Yeah.
So.
Are cluster mailboxes only in HOA communities? Would there ever be a cluster mailbox not in an HOA?
No, so moving forward, this all stemmed from the post office or postal service. They don't allow individual mailboxes, so any development, whether it's single family or multifamily, will have cluster. And so because of that, the response was the city put together regulations and rules on how to design and properly serve those clusters.
But if there's no HOA to regulate, let's say, a schedule of who's responsible to pull it to the curb, so
Yeah.
what?
Hmm.
Then how to, it's just free
Yeah.
for all?
Well, then it'd have to be under a POA or something, you know? So the rule is just, black and white. It really is up to the developer to figure out how to get that done.
So, yeah. That's just my thought. And like I said, it's not really safe to just have your credit card. I mean, if you just throw your credit card
Well, that's their
thing in there.
stupidity.
Right.
I know, and that to me,
Yeah.
that's dangerous. I mean, I know people probably don't do that a lot anymore, but your chances are not high, but they're also not zero.
So would it be like we go through a test period and then we make changes to this
I mean, I'd have
after
to,
that kind of thing? What's the process?
You'd have to talk
Yeah, I
to
mean, I think
Carrie,
there's-
wouldn't you?
well, there's definitely gonna be some discretion if we're not gonna enforce that temporarily. I mean, I guess there's always a discretion on enforcement on things.
But we're not really enforcing it now either, right? I mean,
I mean, the trash can's there, it's
but
required.
everywhere else, we don't know if there's a trash can everywhere else or not, right?
I mean, we could verify that, I mean, if that's the case, but, I mean, yeah, I could run it by Carrie and see. I mean, I think ultimately it's a discretionary thing. If we're kind of playing feelers, maybe there's a time where we could just say, okay, take it up and let's see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
But I can verify that.
Yeah. So that's
But-
just,
Do you have any thoughts on that, Jason?
It's across from your house.
I don't know who is, but I appreciate whoever's doing that. I was gonna say, it's always put out on Wednesdays for right where where it needs to be.
It was out when I went to work this morning.
And it's always put up in the afternoon.
I thought Lupe was feeding the cat.
I've saved 2 turtles, by the way. I'm just saying. But yeah, that's just my thoughts about it, and maybe come up with a solution that will make everybody happy.
Yeah, 'cause you got one more. Up and going.
Seriously?
So they just hold the mail?
No, they told you.
Wow.
They don't deliver to your house on Saturdays half the time.
So do they have to
They
pay for
can't get the mail in the right
They have
cluster mailboxes now, so.
Yeah, it's sad. I feel sorry for our postal department.
Black Rock.
Okay.
Well, I'm all about scientific,
Research.
Experiments.
Yeah, no, I can see just seeing what happens.
I mean, if we
And-
could, waive it for 30 or 90 days or whatever,
Probably 30.
What's 4 garbage pickups, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
That would be 30 to, yeah, a month.
And
I mean,
then
every week.
see what
right?
happens.
So-
I mean, take the garbage can and put it in somebody's backyard.
So who's taking the garbage can?
He lives closest, right?
Whose house is closest?
Jason's?
He's got that high fence too.
You don't have a back gate into your yard though, do you? Oh, darn it.
We'll just have to look the other way when we drive by every time, and pretend that we didn't see that it's not there.
Move it after midnight.
You want me to reach out to our developer, or are you gonna reach out to him?
I mean, I don't mind. I can call him and say, hey, Jim, you may save some money in the future if this works out. So he might.
I mean, I was kind of thinking that angle myself. I wasn't gonna say that.
spots bigger.
He might be out there in the evenings picking up litter, just to make sure that it's.
Jim Hassel isn't picking up no
No.
litter out there.
But I think they probably are on board with the no trash can because, they're paying.
And I have heard that just from other developers.
Yeah.
It is a unique thing. It's not very common.
I visited with him a little bit when the golf course opened the grill about the trash can situation, and he would just soon not have them. But
Matter of fact, I think.
There's not one?
Yeah, they've removed.
not anymore.
Oh, no, you have to walk to the corner.
Yeah.
You gotta go to the city
Do that
trash.
all
I was
the
gonna say
time.
they just put them in City Hall.
Wow.
Yeah, they used to have one under that
big
Center
tree.
Island thing, but they pulled it up.
Do they have one at Stone Ridge?
I think they do have a trash can there, and they just decided to do that.
I thought they,
But I'm pretty sure they have a small little can.
Oh, so they didn't even have a Republic one. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's just,
thank you for your comments, Mrs. Peters.
you're welcome, Chairman Peters.
We don't have to vote on it.
No,
I'll,
it's just a workshop.
Yeah, I'll just,
You're gonna reach out to Jim and
Mhm.
talk to Carrie about the legality of it?
yeah, and I'll reach out to Mr. Redding too,
Oh, yes.
if it's not already removed.
Tell them we'll waive the fee for 30 days.
Yeah.
They didn't have a Republic trash can though, I don't believe.
No,
Oh.
no. I mean, I like the Republic thing because it's easy to get in and out.
Okay, that brings us to agenda item number 6, consideration and possible action on approval of the meeting minutes for June 8th, 2023.
I move we accept them as written.
We have a motion to accept them from Commissioner Hancock,
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Copeland. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Wasn't here, so
Oh,
I can't
okay.
say whether or
You
not
abstained.
I abstained.
We have one abstained. Seeing that, the motion carries, and we will adjourn this meeting at 6:33 PM.